So yeah, I mean, we're talking real life. We're talking to real people about real things, discussing real problems, coming up with real solutions. This is our life. This is my life. This is real life. Hello, welcome to another episode of Real Life with Cornelius Lindsay. My name is Cornelius Lindsay, and I'm here alone today. I'm going to be talking about the subject. I wrote about this in my book, my first book, entitled "So You Want to Be Married," and this particular chapter was entitled "Virgin Lips." Again, the book is called "So You Want to Be Married." It's Virgin Lips, and you can refer to the book. You can get it on Amazon, all those places online. Again, it's called "So You Want to Be Married," but the chapter was entitled "Virgin Lips," and the idea, or what I was seeking to accomplish in this particular chapter, was talking about my wife and I, our journey, and really answering the question, why did I wait to kiss my wife before our wedding day? Now, when I was much younger, and I was kind of going through the whole stages of what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be in life, I wasn't introduced to the idea of relationships. Isn't it crazy how you can go through life and you learn trigonometry, you learn calculus, you learn, United States history, whether it's true history or not, whatever. you learn history throughout the world. I mean, you learn all these different things, all these different subjects, but you aren't really taught the things that we use every day, and relationships are one of them. And then another big thing we don't really talk about is our finances and things like that. But specifically on relationships, I was never taught the idea that one should respect the future, a person that you married or anything like that. But all my past relationships were absolutely horrible. They were absolutely terrible. They were not anything that I would probably ever want to write a good book about, because they didn't really, the essence of the relationship was so focused on self and not truly the Lord that truly, they were never right. I was either, and this is not to say that I was just in bad relationships and that the girl was always the problem, but a lot of times I was the problem as well. A lot of the times I was the problem as well. But nonetheless, I never forget, I met my wife we went to the same church, two different locations. And I met her, talked to her for the first time, I should say. For the very first time, we had a lengthy conversation. It was during a fast. We spoke on Facebook chat at the time. I knew within the first 15 minutes she was going to be my wife. And then after all of this, it's like, okay, I know she's going to be my wife. After this, she says, hey, we're gonna meet up. And I agreed to meet her that Wednesday. So it was a Sunday. We had a conversation. That Wednesday, we met up. I flew up to New York City. I was going up there anyway for work. I flew into Manhattan. I went over to Manhattan. Met her there. We went to this vegan restaurant. We came back. I mean, it was an amazing experience just kind of being there. But sitting down at the table with her, my first question to her at the time was, when we get married, would you agree to move from New York to Atlanta? I never forget the look on her face. She looked at me and she was like, hold up. So you coming to me already talking about marriage? So, from that initial conversation, it was like I already had this idea in my head was going to happen. We're going to get married. And so my wife and I, we kept going back and forth with this whole idea of what this was going to be in some ways. I felt like I knew, and I knew that I felt like she knew as well. But I think in our heads with one another, we had to kind of go back and forth with each other, because we're like, well, does she really know that I really want to marry her? And in the same way, it's like, does he really know that I want to marry him? Even though we made it clear. We sat down and we talked for about 4 hours that evening, and it was all questions. How many children do you want? Tell me about your parents. Who did what kind of food do you like? Tell me about your siblings. Tell me about this and tell me about that. So we sat there and we communicated for the entire 4 hours. After that, I'm like, look, it's getting late. Let's go back. Let me take you back to the train. You get back home and stuff like that. we went over to the Time Warner building in Columbus Circle there in Manhattan. And I had to use the restroom. And, well, no, she had to use the restroom. And so we went upstairs. She went into the restroom. And while she was in there, it was like very specific to me. I feel like God impressed this question upon my heart. And the question was, how are you going to end this date? And my response was, like I end any other date. And the words I felt he impressed upon my heart were, but she doesn't belong to you. And I thought, okay, this is insane. This is crazy. And I don't understand what you're talking about. And that started a journey for me of understanding the opposite sex, of understanding the true essence of woman, and looking at her as a treasure, as a sister, as a gift of God, and also as a daughter of the King. And that was something that was kind of new to me at the time. And so my wife was coming out of the bathroom, and I looked at her and I said, well, we weren't married at the time. She's coming out of the restroom. I looked at her and I said, you know, pretty much when you were in there, this happened to me. So I'm not going to kiss you until our wedding day. And she kind of looked at me and she kind of smiled a little bit. She was like, okay. And so I walked her back to her place and stuff like that. And I went back to the places I was staying. Never forget walking into the condo, and I put my back up against the wall and I just slid down the wall. And my leader at the time, my boss at the time, he came over to me and he said, oh my goodness, are you in love? And I was like, I found my wife. He was like, oh no, you did it. I'll never forget that day, man. I was like, I found my wife. And I probably sat there for about 45 minutes, just like thinking like, man, so this is what it feels like to just kind of know. You know when people say you just know that you know? I just kind of knew. And I knew at that moment this was going to be my wife, and I didn't want to play any games with it. And then from there, it was like, okay, I go from here, and now the journey begins. And it took us 1 year and 8 months before we finally got married. And for 1 year and 8 months, I didn't kiss her on the hand, I didn't kiss her on the cheek, I didn't kiss her on the arm or anything else like that. I waited until the wedding day, and we kissed for the first time on our wedding day. And I mean, the relationship itself was not all roses and sunshine. I mean, we had our ups, we had our downs. We broke up for, I think, about a month because I just wasn't ready for commitment, which is going to be a totally different conversation that I definitely want to have. Well, I definitely want to have on this particular series. But just, I mean, I wasn't ready for a commitment. Anytime I got really close to something, somebody got close to me, I was like, nope, get away from me. You're getting too close. I don't want you close to me. And I would completely shut down. I wouldn't want to communicate. I wouldn't want to talk. And I would try to make it feel like it was the other person's problem. So it was really, really hard and very tough for me to try to overcome that wall that I kind of built up. I didn't know how to climb over it. I wasn't sure if I wanted it broken down because it also become a place of safety for me. And so it was very difficult for me to understand. We had broken up. I mean, it was a very normal courtship. The only thing that was different was this honor that we were choosing to have for one another. So there was a lot of boundaries that had to go into it. But ultimately, in answering the question, you know, why in the world would I wait to kiss her until our wedding day? You know, it came down to honor. It came down to respect. I'll never forget how God began to show me just the treasure of a woman, how this young baby, this young girl, and I really see this now. I have a daughter, and I see how God places this young a woman, this young girl, into the care of her father. And it is I mean, my daughter and I, we're thick. We're in there together. If she's around me, she's cuddled up under me. I love it. I absolutely love it. I love my daughter. I like to tell people, my son shows me my strength. My daughter shows me my heart. My son loves to fight, but my daughter is like, I don't want to fight with you. I want you to love me. Tell me I'm pretty. Hold me. Pick me up. Throw me around. You know, just gives it. I just want to feel wanted and loved and accepted by you. And it's so amazing. And fellas, I'm going to break this down to you. If a woman hasn't had that from her father, then she's definitely going to look from that from you. And that's just something you just need to know. That should never scare you, but that should just prompt you to say, you know what? I need to make sure that I'm in a place where I can provide that. But nonetheless, I really began to see how God, he places the daughter into the care of her father. And then you ever notice that in the wedding ceremony, when the father typically walks the bride down, and then the pastor or the preacher, whatever it is, will say, who gives this woman away in marriage? Typically it's the father, but you know, most times the mom want to be like, we give her up. It's both of us. She was in my womb. It's both of us. You know how women can do it. It's so funny. But anyway, it's like, I do. And it's very symbolic, because what he's saying here is, I'm now taking my daughter from under my protection and under my covering of provision and protection and wisdom, and I'm now transferring her over to her husband. And some women look at that and they'll say, oh, see, there you go. You trying to make it seem like women, we can't provide and protect for ourselves, and you trying to act like men trying to do this. No. God is showing something here, that you're beautiful and you're precious, and it's like a treasure. It's like you don't never take treasure away from the guard. You have to make sure that there's always someone who's around it to make sure that it can retain the purity and retain the value. And you never want to lose that. So it's so amazing how that begins to happen. And so he hands the hand of his daughter, of the bride, over to the groom, and then the preacher usually say, and I know this because I've done so many weddings, the preacher usually say, son, please, groom, or whatever his name is, please grab the hand of your bride and please step forward. And it's very symbolic, because he's saying, I am now going to take your hand, and I'm now going to walk you up, and now you're going to stand beside me, and now we're starting this new covenant together. So you're leaving one covenant and now you're joining into a new one. And now, as the scripture says, that you're no longer yoked together with your father and your mother, but now you are yoked together with your spouse. So you just see how God treasures this woman. And I just begin to learn different things about value, about respect, about honor. And then in learning those things, it really helped to solidify the idea of what God was wanting me to see. And plus, I mean, just on the physical side of it, I had already had sex before. So it wasn't like I had to try the machinery. I already knew it worked, and I already knew what it took to get me there. And, you know, I mean, it's like, I didn't need the temptation. I mean, that was a big part of it as well. I didn't need the temptation. Most people assume that they just say, well, I mean, it's just a little kiss, but I just knew for me, I knew where I took things, and I needed to just kind of chill out for a little bit. Like, no, you don't need to be doing anything. You just need to chill, because if not, you're going to try to take it there, and that's not where it needs to be. And my wife is very attractive, and trying to, I mean, just if I didn't remain disciplined there, then ultimately it would be a snowball effect. And I think that one of the greatest needs for a man inside of a marriage is respect. He needs dignity. He needs to know that my words can not only be heard, but they can also be understood and be trusted to follow. And I didn't know this until after we got married, but during our honeymoon, my wife looks over at me and she says, you know what? You don't know this, but the entire time that we were courting, I was questioning whether or not you're gonna keep this up. And she said, because I had the toughest time respecting men. And I'm like, oh man, are you serious? She's like, I had the toughest time respecting men because they always said they're going to do one thing, but they ended up doing another one. So it was very difficult for me to trust their words. And because I didn't trust them, it'd be very difficult for me to follow them. And for me to, for me to just truly allow for them to lead. And I was like, oh man, like God, I didn't even know that this is what you were seeking to do with this. I just thought most of this was in the beginning, I didn't think it was about honor. I didn't think it was about respect or anything. I thought God was like, look, boy, you don't really know how to take care of a woman. You don't know anything, and all you want to do is just have sex. So you just need to come all the way back, son, and just stay here in the jail cell for a little while, and you can see her behind the partition or something. I was like, God, why are you punishing me? But all in all, I began to see a whole greater mission at work. And I mean, just going back real quickly to the whole idea of that, that very small kiss. People don't realize this, but it only takes a very small flame. And once you throw that small flame, just a small match, just very small flame, you throw it on a very dry forest, which, some people out there are kind of dry, you haven't done something in a long time, and it's dry, and you throw that very small flame on a dry forest, and woof, here's a raging fire. And then pretty soon You look up and you're like, oh my God, where my clothes at? Oh my God, I'm naked. How we both naked here in the bed together? What happened? And it's like, oh yeah, I forgot. The flame. I forgot, because this whole flame over here just kind of got thrown on this dry forest, and boom. Now I got a raging fire. Now I got guilt that I have to deal with, and now I have this, and I'm thinking, man, does she still trust me? And does he still desire me? Am I still wanted? Am I still loved? Or can we still do this right? And you have all these different questions, all these different things that you don't even have to war with, that you shouldn't even be warring with. So the journey for me was not more so legalistic as much as it was very relational. It was about my relationship with the Lord first and foremost. He was teaching me something about discipline, honor, respect, and all those things. He was also teaching me something in my relationship with my now wife, because I was one of those men who hated to talk. So when in past relationships, when I got into an argument or when something happened, then I immediately want to go into a kiss or just come here, just hug me or something, just a cuddle. I mean, just something. We can do something together so that I can kind of hold you instead of talking to you. And God just snatched all that away from me. And he was like, nah, bruh, you got to communicate and you have to open up. And my wife she wanted to talk back then. And in the courtship, I was just like, why are we doing all this talking? And she's like, this is all we got. Like, it ain't like we can do anything else. This is all we got. So you have to talk to me. And I'm like, all right, you're right. I do. I have to talk to you. And then in talking, it's like, okay, I'm understanding why I'm talking to you. And now I'm exposing myself. And now I'm allowing for the walls to come down. And I'm beginning to understand the scripture, which says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. I'm actually giving my wife something that I didn't even know that I was giving her, and that was intimacy. And because I thought from years ago, I thought that intimacy was just sexual, when in actuality it's not. It doesn't begin in the bed. It doesn't begin in the bedroom, but it begins in conversation. So I was allowing for my wife to come into me to see who I was, because I was giving her my words, and my words flow from my heart. So as the man so thinketh, so is he. I thought these things, and I pretty much was these things because they were in my heart, and those things began to just flow out. And this whole conversation began to happen so quickly, and it's like, all right, now God, I'm doing all this talking, and we're talking to each other, but I mean, it was still difficult. It was still tough at times, being forced to communicate feelings. My wife's favorite question after we got married was, how was your day? How was your day? But then she'd break it down into what was the peak of your day and what was the pit of your day. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, please quit asking me that. Because it will force me to talk. And she'd say, babe, how was your day? And my response would be, long. Okay, so what did you do? Stuff. Okay, where did you go? Work. And she's just like, look, you're going to have to talk to me. So you need to go take a shower or something like that. Get yourself together. Get your mind right. And come back because we're going to have a conversation. Because when I asked her, I'd be like, hey, babe, so how was your day? And she would say, oh, my God, I'm so glad you asked. So first, I had to go to the grocery store, and you would not believe I had to park all the way down the parking lot. I finally got to the parking lot. I looked over, and guess what? I didn't even have my purse. So I had to go all the way back home. I had to get my purse. And then guess what? When I walked in the house, HGTV was on. Remember that one house that I said we were looking at, but it looked like this, and the paint color I really wanted was like this. And she just go on and on and on. I'm just like, oh my God, baby, land the plane. Land the plane. You just hovering right now. This helicopter. You hovering. You hovering. You got to land this sucker. Just zoom. Pew. It was good. It was good. It was great. Boom. That was it. And it was not my wife. It's still not my wife. But it forced me to talk. So then now she's like, okay, what's the peak of your day? And I know, this is the peak of my day. This is the greatest part of my day. What was the pit of your day? This is the pit of my day. In the past, she would be like, what's the peak of your day? And I'd be like, lunch. And she's like, what is the pit of your day? And don't ever say this. I got in so much trouble so many times saying this. I'd say, this conversation. And she'd be like, nah, bruh. No, this is not the guy. This is not where it happened. So you trying to tell me that the pit of your day is you talking to me? Then the tears would just start flowing. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what am I doing? I'm messing up happy time right now. We're not going to have happy time because I'm sitting up here being a jerk, and I don't need to be a jerk anymore. I need to just communicate. So with the series of of desiring happy time, a lot of other things, I knew I had to change. But going back to the whole point of this, God was doing the work in me. And if you make these things legalistic, then that's all to be inside of your mind. But if you really look at, I truly want to honor the woman I'm in a relationship with, or honor the guy I'm in a relationship with, however it may be, if you're man, female, whatever it is. If you really want to honor the person you're in a relationship with, and then if you're saying, hey, I truly want to honor God as well, then, I mean, it becomes a relational issue, not a legalistic issue. You're doing it because you're compelled to do it. And you can't let people around you dictate what you're going to do. I mean, we have people around us tell us, you know, y'all are crazy and that's stupid and you should just go in and just test it out first. You know, what fool leaves off a parking lot without testing out the car first? And I'm just like, hold up. Let's take your idea here. I mean, I'm a realist and I'm very analytical in my mind. So I like to just think things out and ask questions. I'm like, so are you honestly telling me that you're comparing a woman to a car? Like, come on, bruh. Like, do not be that chauvinistic. You know, it's just, come all that down. But anyway, it's like this idea that you have to test it out first in order for you to like it it's crazy. I mean, yeah, whatever. But nonetheless, it becomes a relational issue. It's not legalistic. It becomes, I love this person and I want to be with this person. Therefore, I want to honor this person. And I want to practice now loving her as I love my own life. I love my own body. I'm not going to mistreat my own body because I respect it. And it could possibly be, and this may be another episode of another time, it could possibly be that we disrespect each other because we don't take care of ourselves. We don't understand the importance of our own health. So we're just so lax and so loose on how we mistreat other people. So it's many things that kind of compounds itself. And my purpose here right now is for you, for those of you who are listening to this, to seriously ponder the relationship you're in and ask yourself, is the person I'm with, is this person going to be my spouse? Do I know that I know this person to be my spouse? If so, then respond accordingly. Respect, honor. I mean, put the proper boundaries in place. And you say, well, I've already messed up. I mean, one thing I love about our God is that he is forgiver. And he is faithful and just to forgive all those who repented of their sin. And if you repent of those things, then you're brand new. And you need to go back to your relationship, go back to your relator, your quarter, if you may, and go back to him and say, you know what? Yeah, this happened in the past, but that don't mean it has to continue. And today is a new day, new grace, new opportunities, new mercy, new bread. And our God continues to provide these new things for us. So this is going to be a new relationship for us. And that means we're going to have some new boundaries. I'm from the old school. I'm from whatever, well, I don't know what school you call it, but I believe that men should still lead. I believe that you as a man, you need to go ahead and say, you know what? I need to have some boundaries. I need to put up the right boundaries here. And we need to communicate these boundaries with one another to make sure we're both on the same page here, to make sure that, hey, we are walking down this aisle and we're doing it together. Don't be fooled into thinking that the journey to the altar begins the time when you get a ring. I mean, it began at the first conversation. And then don't be fooled that the day after the wedding is going to be put on hold until you guys kind of get everything else together in your head or in your heart before you get there. The altar is not a magic pill. That's the place where the covenant is set. But the day after the wedding, if you were rude and mean and unbecoming before that, you're going to be the same way afterwards. So I hope this helped you, man. I'm going to continue to do some more things on this. I really do hope it helped you, man. God bless you. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Real Life with Cornelius. I'm like, what are we doing again? Real Life with Cornelius Lindsay, where we're talking real people, real issues about real things, and we're coming up with real answers. God bless you. Thank you so much. Boom. Peace. Thank you so much for tuning in to Real Life with Cornelius Lindsay. Hey, if you get an opportunity, please check out my website, www.corneliuslindsay.com. Until next time, remember, Jesus is Lord. God bless you.